Sam from RoadTrailRun here. We're going to take a look today at Asics Noosa Tri 14, all those colors, $130. It's out now. And the very similar Evoride 3, which is $120 and will come in June. So why do I say they're similar? Well, they have exactly the same stack height of 30, 25, exactly the same midsole of flight foam, but they have different uppers. We're also going to take a look at their predecessors, the Tri 13 and the Evoride 2, because with this new midsole foam, there are very significant differences in the ride between these two. They're the same basic ride, but very different from the predecessors you saw here. And then we're also going to do a few comparisons: the Adios 6, the Skechers Razors Excess 2, and the Hoka Bondi number 3. So let's get into some of the details. In terms of weight, for our 14 here, Noosa Tri 14, 7.5 ounces, 212 grams in a US 8.5. All the shoes are US 8.5. All the weights will be 8.5 in the video. In terms of our Evoride number 3, it will check in at 207 grams, 7.3 ounces. So it is a bit lighter by a couple tenths than the Noosa Tri. Now, what's really interesting is that we lose a lot of weight in the Evoride 3 compared to the 2. We lose a full ounce or 28 grams, whereas in our 13 here compared to 14, we don't lose that much weight. We just lose a couple tenths or about 10 grams, and we'll get into why that is. So I said there's a new midsole foam here, a new flavor, if you will, of flight foam. Indeed, Asics says it is softer, and this is absolutely true. I did an A/B test of both the Evoride 2 and the Noosa Tri 13 against each of these, and there is no question the midsole is softer. I also noted I'd say much less impact kind of vibration in the 14 compared to our 13, and the same is the case for the Evoride 3 and 2. So this changes the whole kind of feel of the shoe. Both shoes have Asics guide sole technology, which we saw come out first a few years ago in the Meta Ride and the Glide Ride. We have a video of the Glide Ride 3 up on the channel. And guide sole seeks to keep the ankle from flexing up, the toes from flexing down, with a rigid rocker geometry, so kind of locks you in place. Well, what Asics has done here, along with this softer foam, we're not sure exactly how, is now we are much more flexible in the sense that we actually have a flex point, and I'll show you. There you go. Look at that flex point. Whereas before, and it's the same for both, there was none. So what does this do? Well, before, I found the ride of both of them kind of prescriptive, kind of rigid. You really only, they're really guiding you forward. This locking of the ankle and the toes is really to improve efficiency, but it was kind of a rough, harsh, kind of prescriptive ride. Now we kind of balance the guide sole advantages of kind of keeping you aligned, keeping that ankle locked, with some flexibility up front. So it runs quite a bit more conventionally, I'd say, but still with those advantages. And it runs also kind of similar to the 3 we're going to talk about in a little bit. So the outsoles, we'll cover those quickly. Absolutely the same, and no changes from the prior. As you can see, no changes that I could see or detect. However, we got overall a softer ride. Now, let's do a few comparisons of uppers. We'll start with the Noosa Tri 14 versus the 13. Let me get them lined up. Okay, so toe box about the same in fit and feel. Mesh, very similar overall. However, we get a gusset tongue. You won't be able to see it, which we did not have before in our Noosa Tri 13. We also get a different tongue arrangement. You can see this is kind of narrow, and over here we have a broader tongue. We have a new pull tab kind of arrangement with the gusset tongue. The fit is a little more performance oriented, a little more secure through the midfoot thanks to the gusset, and I like that. Now let's look at the heel counters here. Let me get them lined up. In terms of the heel counters, you can see there's a big change. Here we had this rounder, kind of low, really some stiffening, but not much, a bit towards the top. Now we have a higher heel counter with a little bit of the elf thing, more secure, a little more heel counter stiffness. So to go with the gusset, just a bit more of a lockdown fit here. I prefer this new upper. Now, toe box room, just in general, it's okay. This is not a wide shoe. This is a performance kind of up-tempo shoe for tri-racing, but also for your faster workouts. So you want to be locked down. Not the widest toe box, but certainly adequate. Now, let's move over to the Evorides here. So, as I said, it gets a considerably more pleasant, softer midsole. It's not super soft. You've still got kind of a nice responsive feel, but over here you can see I can't even press it. It was so firm. And as with the Noosa Tris, we get flexibility, some flexibility of the guide sole, whereas here, oh, nothing. Okay, so the uppers, in terms of the fit here, actually the Evoride 3's toe box is a bit low. This is a stretchier mesh than we had here. This was a bit denser. It's a little thinner, but lower. One of our testers, Peter Stewart, had some issues with this low toe box. So far, I'm not feeling it, but it is low, and it is, I would say, lower in height than the Noosa Tri 14s, even though the Noosa Tri's 14s mesh is not as stretchy. So you've got a trade-off to consider there. Now over here, let's line up the heels again. As we did before, you can see fairly similar. A little plusher back here. The big difference really, and this is probably in addition to the new flight foam, the big difference in weight is coming from the upper being a little bit thinner mesh. But look at this heel counter here, more pliable. Here, way overbuilt, in my opinion. So that was really kind of extreme guide sole philosophy. Here we're a bit more relaxed. Now in terms of the tongues, now we get a thinner tongue here, you can see, whereas over here we had a plush thing. Overall, the weight savings, because we come in here considerably lighter by a full ounce to, let me remind myself, to 7.3 ounces or 207 grams, whereas we had 235 grams for the number 2, 8.29 ounces. So the lighter weight is also felt. Now, if we wanted to take, and I'm going to give you some comparison videos also, but in terms of fit and feel, this is a more relaxed upper. I think it could use a gusset tongue. It's a more kind of comfort training oriented upper. It's well held. It's a bit low, as I said, whereas over here you've got really a lockdown kind of race feel. So I've taken them out. I'm going to give you a few impressions from the run, A/B tests, and also today I took out Noosa Tri 14 all by itself. So let's talk fit between the Evoride 3 and the Noosa Tri 14. There's clearly a bit more toe box height room in the Noosa Tri. The Evoride 3 feels fine to me, but the compressive mesh is a bit tighter over the toes, but still very good. We have the gusset tongue here in the 14, none over here with a thinner tongue. Midfoot hold is more relaxed. I do prefer the 14's kind of more secure hold. I really think that the Evoride 3 might benefit from a gusset tongue. Now let's get to the heel hold. A higher, a little bit more secure heel hold here. Actually a bit more relaxed over here because it's lower. Not quite as stiff a heel counter. Again, I'm preferring the Noosa Tri 14, but if you want the same exact kind of underfoot feel, but a more relaxed, easygoing upper, still very nice, Evoride 3 is fine as well. Really like the laces here. Just easy to pull up and secure. Over here the same, but again, we don't have quite as much midfoot support. So the choice between the two, of course, all the colors, a little bit more race-oriented upper versus a bit more relaxed fit here, a little more easy going. So I'm gonna keep running. Okay, quick ride comparison between the two. Well, I'm not sure what it is, but I think the Evoride 3 foam is a bit softer, and I think also because the upper is a bit more pliable, it's a little bit softer ride. Of course, both are quite a bit softer than their predecessors, but this one a little softer, a little bouncier. This one a little more dialed in, a little snappier in feel, a little bit more locked down. So it really comes down to kind of choice. I still prefer this upper, not quite the comfort we got over here, but kind of more aligned, better locked down to that guide sole. But here it's mighty fine too. There's really no problems other than maybe that low front of the toe box for some. You've got a more traditional ride. It's now softer, and with the flex, that's why I'm going to do some of these comparisons. It's just a lot smoother. One thing I noticed in particular in comparing, well, both of them really, in the last year's version with the firmer foam, quite a bit more pressure under the ball of the foot. There's no flex. The foam was firmer, maybe kind of more responsive, but pretty harsh. Whereas here we've got a much more kind of easier ride, even though it's still super high kind of performance. But this isn't a super foam. This is regular kind of flight foam. So it's a more traditional ride. So if you want kind of a ride of either, of these new Asics that sort of reminds you a bit of the past, that responsive snap with a bit of flex, this is where you might want to go. Now, let's take a look at a few comparisons. So I've arranged them first by weight here. The Rincon has the highest stack of all of them and the lightest weight at 7 ounces. Then we got 7.2 for our Evoride 3. Then we've got, let me find it here, 7.5 for our Noosa Tri 14. And then our Skechers Razors Excess, 7.8 ounces. And then our Adios 6, checking it at 8.6 ounces, 245 grams. Now the Adios at 32.24 has the second most stack height here, with only the Rincon 3 having 33.28. So Rincon is a really nice shoe. It costs less than any of the ones here. Its rocker isn't quite as effective, I think, as our two Asics or the Skechers with its H plate, or even the Adios with its torsion plate. You'll see underneath the torsion. But it's a fine option with a lot of stack and very lightweight. The Razor Excess 2 here, and we have a multi-tester review of that up on our site, has a 30.26 stack height, so this pretty much the same as our two Asics. And it has a carbon-infused H-shaped plate through the midfoot and Goodyear rubber. So it's a bit stiffer, as you can see, than our Asics, and its hyperburst firm is springier, a little livelier. Even though the stack height is about the same, It has a little bit more kind of comfortable, easier training ride. Upper, very nice, thin tongue, well padded, nice, decent heel counter. So really quite similar to the two Asics. Now moving on to the Adios. Now the Adios is the heaviest shoe here at 8.6 ounces with its 32-24 stack height. It kind of has two personalities compared to the very smooth running guide soles, all of flight foam, just kind of roll along, but there are some similarities. With the Adidas, we have very firm, or really quite firm, light strike at the heel, and then an insert of Light Strike Pro, their super foam up front. And then, as I said, we have a torsion system here, and so this is the most stable shoe of all of them. The Asics aren't far behind, and it also has a very similar kind of flex point to our Noosa Tri here, so, or for that matter, the Evoride 3. So it's the most stable. It's the firmest of all the shoes here. It's probably the best choice if you need some pronation control. But I'd like to see it a bit softer. So we're going to have a full multi-tester review of both of our really cool Asics, Noosa Tri 14 and Evoride 3 over on RoadTrailRun.com. But what Asics has done here is really made their guide sole technology, and we saw it the same in the Glide Ride 3, kind of more friendly, more practical, more pleasing by softening the foams. We saw that in the Glide Ride 3, and giving all the shoes actually some flex. So you get kind of the best of both possible worlds. They're really nice choices for kind of your up-tempo, 5mm drop, kind of do-it-all, faster trainers. In terms of other Asics, for example, the Cumulus 24, I found it flatter feeling, softer for sure, not nearly as snappy, but it could be a nice complement to these two as more kind of your everyday trainer. Or the Nimbus 24, which I kind of prefer. That one has Flight Foam Blast Plus in 2 densities. It's a heavier shoe, but I kind of like the flow of that one for kind of regular daily training and recovery type runs in Asics. Thank you very much for watching. We're going to have that full multi-test review of both of them over on Road Trail Run real soon.